Check 1, 2. Hello. That's fine. I don't mind it being able to hear stuff in the background as long as it. Good morning, Highlands Online. It is so great to have you worshiping with us today. I just wanted to come on before the service this morning and let you know that we are trying a brand new broadcast platform this morning, so some things might look a little bit different. We tried it out yesterday and everything worked without a hitch, but you know how technology is, so hopefully everything works fine, but just in case it doesn't, we would love to hear your feedback. You can send me an email always at andrea.irwin@highlandsunited.org, or you can enter into the chat box, which will be on the side of your live stream. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube this morning, so you can leave us a comment there. As always, let us know where you're worshiping from and if we can hold you in prayer this morning, and it's so great to have you here.
some of us who take a ferry from Seashell at 6:20 in the morning, we're particularly grateful for an extra hours of sleep. In fact, I was at the ferry terminal so early this morning, I beat the workers and the gate wasn't even opened yet. I thought it had left without me. Anyhow, I didn't notice anybody here particularly early today, so I think you all remembered to put your clocks back. As we gather this morning in this space, we acknowledge with gratitude that we do so on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, the Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh nations, and we are grateful for their stewardship of this land and space. There are a few things to draw your attention to today. First of all, it is birthdays after church today. It feels like we just had a birthday celebration, but if you missed that one, it's time again. So who has a November birthday? One? There's got to be, there's somebody else. Oh, good. Yeah, right. Okay, lots of November birthdays. There is cake, there is fruit, and there is gluten-free cake too. So please go down to the fireside room, down through the back stairs or these stairs, and join after church for the birthday celebration. Advent Festival, November 29th and 30th. You'll see the posters up now. I'll send an email out later this week with more information about this if you aren't familiar with the Advent Festival. But just a reminder that this is the time now to bring nativity scenes in to loan to us for the 29th and 30th. We have a team of people who will carefully photograph and record your scenes, keep them locked away in a safe space, and you'll have them back in time for your own Advent and Christmas celebrations. But please bring them in anytime during the week to the church office, or Sundays or Thursday nights at Spirit Singers rehearsal. This year at the Advent Festival, we have a couple of new things that'll be happening. We'll be offering fair trade gifts for sale with 10,000 villages coming, and Julio bringing some Guatemalan crafts as well. So we'll be expanding the craft sale a little bit. You'll also find a new layout for the nativity scene. So if you think you've already seen it all, you haven't. There are also some posters for the Nativity or the Advent Festival that can be distributed. So if you live in an apartment complex or near a public gathering space where you could display a poster, please come and take one or two after church. They're on the action table. Colleen asked me to remind you that this Wednesday is a Seniors Connection event, and I think there are people who are probably planning on coming but have not yet signed up. So she has the sign-up list out at the action table. Mental Health First Aid is a course we offered last year. We will be offering it again this year. It is a fabulous course to open a conversation about mental health and to learn some skills for supporting those in your life or in your family who are dealing with mental health issues. The instructor that we have this year is someone who's a young woman who's got a lot of experience both in faith communities and also in the downtown east side, and she's a certified trainer with the Mental Health Commission of Canada. We are looking at possibly extending, the poster says it's Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday afternoon, but if it makes it easier for some of you to attend, she's willing to expand the Saturday and the Friday by an extra hour so that you don't have to spend all 3 days doing that. So please speak to me, sign up online, or send me an email if you'd like more information about that. Allie asked me if I would invite you to bring in any leftover Halloween candy. I'm sure you don't have leftover Halloween candy in your house, but should you find some, she would love it if you would bring it in. The youth and children are going to be using it to create, I think, Christmas crackers for the Saturday lunch program. So you can bring it in on Sundays or any time during the week. Did I forget any announcements? So, let's take a deep breath and prepare ourselves to gather in worship this morning. Breathe in the spirit of peace and hope and light.
From a world where more is best,
We have come to hear about sharing with others.
from a world where people look after number one,
We have come to follow Jesus, who lived for others.
from a world where fear of others is endemic,
We have come to love our neighbors as ourselves.
from a world that isolates itself and looks away,
We have come to see and share and offer ourselves.
in our prayers, our songs, our praise,
Let us draw the circle wide, draw it wider still.
with wonder and gratitude, let us worship God.
Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the still point of the circle, around whom all creation turns. Nothing lost but held forever in God's gracious arms. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Let our hearts touch far horizons, so encompass great and small. Let our loving know no borders, faithful to God's call. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Let the dreams we dream be larger than we've ever dreamed before. Let the dream of Christ be in us, open every door. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide.
Let us say together our opening prayer. Holy One, Creator of all that is and all that will be, we join with you on this journey from what has been to what may be. Our prayer is that we will be open to the challenges and the possibilities of the road ahead, trusting that you have been there before us and you are still there, guiding, loving, welcoming all who follow you. We offer you our worship. the songs and prayers of our hearts, and share the table of plenty that you set before us. May our lives be a witness to the love we have for you this day and always. Amen.
Place at the table, we water and A reading from Matthew 25, verses 31 to 40. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him. And he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand, and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of those least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Let's begin with prayer. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, meditations of all our hearts, and the actions of our lives keep us close to you and on the path that you desire us to follow. Amen. Over a period of 7 weeks through October and into this month of November, Reverend Will has been leading and is leading a small gathering of Highlands folks in a study group rather oddly entitled The Ridiculous Journey, and its subtitle, Following a Nobody from Nowhere. Now, not wanting to be exclusive, we've decided to share some of that journey with all of you. The introduction of the first session begins with these words by the discussion guide writer, the Reverend Rich Nelson. Each of us gets to choose the paths we will travel. They will, of course, contain unforeseen surprises of both the welcome and unwelcome sort. Where shall we go, you and I? Shall we go along together? How shall we get there? And how will we know when there is now here? "Come follow me," a voice interrupts. Who is this? A wandering homeless man. Why should we give up all of this to follow this nobody from nowhere? It is a ridiculous journey, which of course is the only kind there is. A ridiculous journey. Well, it's true. It was at the beginning and continues to be so. Who could imagine that a Middle Eastern homeless man of 2 centuries ago could still stir the hearts and souls and imaginations of so many to this very day? As the gospel stories tell us, Jesus begins his brief and humble ministry in the Galilee, showing up in a small seaside fishing village, encouraging those he met to join him on a journey. Seeing Peter and his brother Andrew casting their nets into the sea, he calls to them saying, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they put down their nets and follow. Further along the seashore, the brothers Zebedee, James and John, were mending nets on their father's boat. Jesus calls to them as well, and they too leave nets, boat, and father and follow. Just like that. The details are few, but their response was immediate. I suspect that they may have gone home to change and grab a backpack for the road, to say goodbye to wives and children and parents, but the story doesn't tell us that. Can you imagine the conversations, if there were any, with wives or parents or neighbors? You're doing what? You're going where? You are leaving all of this, all of us behind for what? To go on a ridiculous journey with this ragged stranger who looks like a vagabond who hasn't 2 coins to rub together, a nobody from nowhere. What are you thinking? But that's what they did. And others followed too. Mary of Magdala, Matthew, the tax collector, Simon the Zealot, Martha and Mary, Philip and Nathanael. These and other men and women were willing to lay everything aside, leave behind all that they knew, all those they cared for, to go on a dangerous journey to who knows where, with someone they had only just met. Most of us wouldn't do that. Couldn't do that. It would be crazy to do so. We would want to check out his CV, Facebook profile, credit rating, wanting to know his family background, who his friends are. Why wouldn't we? There are many compelling voices out there, claiming truth, offering blessings and prosperity, beckoning us to follow. Even if we felt intrigued, how could we discern which one to follow, which path to take? What is it about this Jesus that suggests he is the one that we should listen to, that his should be the story that speaks most compellingly to us and makes us want to go on such a ridiculous journey, a journey with this starry-eyed dreamer? Again from Reverend Rich Nelson, who answers that this way. Even if we agree to follow Jesus, it doesn't mean that the path will suddenly become clear. It will likely become less clear in the beginning because his ways are not our ways. But the more we travel down the path he has laid before us, the more sense it begins to make. Again, in all honesty, the same can be said of the path to lunacy. The difference, I suppose, is whether love lies at the heart of the path or not. Is this path leading you into greater love for others or less? Greater love for yourself or less? Greater love for God or less? Whether love lies at the heart of the path or not. What does that look like? Well, that brings us to this morning's scripture passage. Throughout his gospel and in the parables that Jesus taught, Matthew is making a life-altering point. A relationship with God is not about having faith, it's about doing faith. Today's story, which comes near the end of Matthew's gospel, is one of the last opportunities that Jesus has to convince his followers how they should live their lives. Imagining the great judgment day, Matthew has Jesus separating the people like a shepherd separates the sheep and the goats, commending some, the sheep, to be with God in God's kingdom, and others, the goats, to, well, we didn't hear that part of the story this morning, but you can imagine where the others end up. And what is it that separates the sheep and the goats, the heavenly bound and the not so heavenly bound? Well, it's how they lived, whether love lay at the center of the path that they trod. It's pretty black and white, according to Matthew. Feed the hungry, offer drink to the thirsty, welcome the stranger, clothe the naked, visit the imprisoned. But not so simple to live that way in real life. And yet that is what Jesus calls us to do. To love deeply, to see and care for those we encounter in life, whoever they are, wherever we encounter them. To treat all we meet as if they were Christ. And doing so not to achieve a heavenly reward, but doing so because it's the right thing to do. It's delightful when the righteous, as Matthew calls them, sheep as we know them, ask in confusion and surprise, Master, when did we do all these things for you? They probably hadn't seen the face of Christ in the poor and the hungry and the sick and the imprisoned. They had just seen need and acted upon it with grace and compassion and love. Jesus simply answered them, truly I tell you, just as you did it for one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it for me. In the wise and beautiful words from Barbara Brown Taylor, we are not called to be philanthropists or social workers, but brothers and sisters. We are called into relationship, even when that relationship is unlikely, momentary, or sad. We are called to look at each other and see Christ, who promises to be there where our eyes meet. And in that glance, teach us something that we need to know. The world we live in, cultural narrative that pervades and entices us, says what's important is to get ahead, to be in front, to look after number one, to accumulate wealth so life will be comfortable and protected, to become somebody with power and prestige, to be a winner who has the most toys at the end. It really is ridiculous to be on a different path, to take the unconventional road, to view the world and all its brokenness through a different lens, one of compassion and concern and love. But that's what we are called to do. That's a lot of what we do here, that many of you do here in this community and beyond. We do it through support of our local and global connection partners, and by your hands-on work with Saturday Lunch and Shelter to Home, with refugees, the Lookout Shelter, Healing Hands, Guatemala Partners. It is the work of feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, advocating for the poor and the displaced, visiting shut-ins, engaging youth, sharing a welcome to strangers, seeing those on the edges of a difficult life. This is not easy stuff, and we certainly don't get it right all the time, or even most of the time. It's not easy to know the right thing to do, which path to take, which road to follow. Sometimes it does feel like a ridiculous journey we are on. And in truth, it is a ridiculous journey, following this nobody from nowhere. So let me leave you with this wonderfully honest and hopeful prayer by Thomas Merton. It's called the Merton Prayer. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. Nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does, in fact, please you. And I hope I have that desire in all I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, I will trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. Amen. And amen.
Where you go, I'll go. Who you love, I'll love. How you serve, I'll serve. I will follow you. We love and follow Jesus in so many ways in this place. Through our offering of time to serve within this building, to the relationships we build among our neighbors and our friends and our families and to strangers, to our outreach ministries, to our personal spiritual practices, and to learning to live out lives of justice, compassion, and reconciliation to bring light into this world. And so, as a sign of our commitment to follow this Jesus, this nobody from nowhere, who compels us and calls us to follow, we make our offering to the ministry of this church in the community and in the world. Your offering will now be received. prayer of dedication. Gracious God, how uncommon that we should follow you on this journey of life, and yet here we are. You ask us to give of ourselves and our resources so that the world might be healed, and so we do. Through these offerings, may your love and grace be known in this community and in the world beyond. As we prepare to celebrate communion this morning, there are a few things for you to know. First, know that all of you are welcome at this table of Christ, no matter your faith, no matter your culture, no matter your gender, your life experiences. You are part of this family. When it is time to receive communion, there will be 4 stations along the front and 1 in the balcony. And the station on the far right will be the gluten-free, will have gluten-free bread. Oh, on my far right, on your left. I knew what I meant, but you didn't. Our custom here is to take a piece of bread and then dip it in the juice before consuming. We walk up the main aisle, and then after we've received, return down the side aisles. For those of you who are joining us on live stream, if you have a piece of bread or a cracker or a cup of juice, you are welcome to get that and offer it and receive it as we do around this table, because you are part of this family too.
The table has been laid for us. It stretches as wide as the earth. It is set with the promises of abundance and companionship. When the world becomes a table laid in the Spirit of Christ, all will be welcome and all will be fed. For a hungry and hungering world, this is Christ's table. Come not because of anything you have done or failed to do. Come not because of anything you believe or struggle to believe. Come because it is here we have been promised that lives that have been broken are made whole, that relationships that have been wounded are reconciled, that a world that is struggling and aching is forgiven and restored in the generous and redeeming company of Christ.
God be with you.
And also with you.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift our hearts.
Let us give thanks to God.
It is good to give God thanks and praise.
Let us pray. Holy and loving God, we thank you. In the beauty of creation, you have bound us together in a communion of belonging, in covenants of grace, the words of your prophets, and the faith of your followers. You have called us to become one with you. You gave us the companionship of Jesus, the living word, love incarnate, in whom we rest our hope. In you, through the life-giving Holy Spirit, we offer our praise and thanks. So it is that we join with the song of all creation to proclaim your goodness.
Holy, 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 my heart adores you. My heart is glad to say the words you
gather at this table, we remember all those names that are etched on our hearts, written on this prayer list, who are held in your heart, O God. We pray that you are present at this table, in this cup and in this bread. You are made real to love them. Surround them with your love and hope. And as we remember them, we are also reminded that when we pray, you taught us these words. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Together we remember that in the last week of his life, Jesus gathered with his friends for a meal. He took the bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them and said, "This is my body which is broken for you. Whenever you do this, remember me."
After they had eaten, Jesus took the cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "This is my life poured out for you, a covenant of a new life in God. When you do this, remember me."
Let us pray. Gracious God, send your Spirit upon us and upon these gifts. Then what we do here, we will remember the promise of your unending love, that in holding what is broken, we are reminded that in you we are whole. And in sharing what has been poured out, we are reminded of what fullness of life is like. Holy God, in your light, our light. In your bread, our life. In your promise, our hope, now and forever. Amen.
The one who invites us is with us. This is the bread of life, the cup of blessing. Remember how much God loves you.
These are the gifts of God for you, the people of God. Let us say together our prayer after communion. Gracious God, may your gifts of love fill us and transform us so that we may live lives of thanksgiving and reconciliation. May your presence among us provoke such longing for your realm that we will never be satisfied until the whole earth knows your justice, your peace, and your love. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
May God's presence among us provoke such longing for your realm that we will never be satisfied until the whole earth knows your justice and your peace and your love. Go from this place knowing that you are the hands and feet of Christ. For Christ has one body, and that's yours. Go in peace.
No